What has become very clear to me is that it is our utmost responsibility to do what we can to fill ourselves up. If peace has been on your mind, I invite you to notice all of the different ways we have available to us to support us. Like I said, peace was on my mind at the beginning of the week. I was so in the throes of, I felt like my boat was very little and I was on big waves. And so I reached out to our practitioners. And earlier you saw all of these practitioners saying, of course, yes, we stand with you in peace. And it brings me to my talk today because I have been working on a belief that I am not supported. Now, I know from the outside, right, so many people can say, oh, but you are, Karin, and they can list things. But have you ever noticed that whatever the world says or sometimes shouts at us, it has to land, right? And so that is really what I want to talk to all of us about today, that 14-inch journey from our head, from knowing this, from hearing it, from our logical mind saying, well, of course you are supported. Look, to our hearts, where we really feel it, where we have, without a shadow of a doubt, the knowingness that, yes, this, whatever this is for you, is true, with a capital T. Our month today, this month, is under the umbrella of making it real. I felt in January we did such a great job learning so many things about the fundamentals of our teaching, and through this wonderful book, Braiding Sweetgrass, different worldviews, and it was wonderful. And this month, Reverend Leslie and I have taken on the challenge to making it real in our own ways. So for me, making it real has a lot to do with how can I share that the experience of peace is what I want to pull from the allness of life into my personal experience. And in order to make this talk personal for you, can't just be speaking for myself today. To make it personal for you, I want you to answer this question. Fill in the blank of this statement. I think we have a slide for it. I want to experience. So in a moment, I'm going to invite us here in the sanctuary and online to say out loud what comes after that, those first four words. You ready? I want to experience a greater experience of freedom. That wasn't everybody. Let's do it again. And I promise I have a point. I'm not just annoying. I have a point. Let's do it again. I want to experience a greater love. Yes, yes. I believe that we get messages that it's not okay to claim what it is that we want to experience. That it's not okay to come up to the universe and claim, this is what I am going to do, experience, have. And yet, our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes, says it so perfectly in this quote that I found. Those who read The Science of Mind every day, we just read it yesterday. It says, the possibility of our demonstration rests not in the principle, but in our acknowledgement of and embodiment in it of the ideas we desire experienced. What does that mean? Well, it means that there is the allness of life. We often talk about it. It's the we call it spirit, the one felt reality, God, source, intelligence, creator, that which creates everything. That's the principle, right? The principle is it is all available for us. And how do we have access to it? It has to come through us. And that is the creative process. Now, this is our teaching symbol. And look at this. Another expression of support. I asked for a pedestal to show it off. It came perfectly able to show it to everyone, so everyone can see it. And I want to talk a little bit about this. We call it the teaching symbol, our teaching symbol, because I'm teaching this new foundations class, and they did a fabulous job clarifying in that curriculum that we use the teaching symbol really to show two different things. One is the universal creative process, how life gets to be created. Where the top third is recognized as spirit, source, the allness of life, through the middle part, which is the creative medium, brings forth, so this is the servant, the middle one is the servant of the impulse, and it brings forth the form, which at the bottom, which is the manifest universe of the divine, which is everything we can see and unsee. That is how life gets created. Everything gets created. And then there's a whole other body of work, and that is our individual experience of the creative process. That is what I want to talk about. How do we create the life that we want to live? How do we create the experiences we want to have? Do you still remember the experience you want to have? Yes? The one we just said a couple of minutes ago? Yes. I want you to hold that in your head, in your heart. Remember what that is. Make that very real for you. I'm not going to ask for volunteers to say it. We'll just use mine. But I want you to apply yours. I want to experience more support. Support in what I know that means for you. So I ask myself, what is in the allness of life? What is there? Yes, there is perhaps harmony, there's greater peace, there is freedom, because that's what I want to really experience, right? A greater freedom. And so I spent time with asking myself, what is it that I want to pull through my life into this experience? It is also sometimes the spark, right? An inspiration. Have you ever heard a whisper, a calling? Those beloveds who have chosen a path of practitioner or perhaps minister, we often talk about hearing a calling, having something placed upon our hearts that holds us. We recognize it as a moment of aliveness. Something is happening, something is sparkling. And then, and this is all available, it is all possible. And then it has to come into our experience through a process. And this process, in the individual creative process, has to pass through this middle part, and we call it often the law, and it is the place where all of our beliefs, ideas, limitations, the way we think the world is, all of that is right there in the center. Now, for me, one of the blocks, one can say, in there is I am not supported. I don't get the support that I really need. And I want you to take a moment and think about what it is that you want to experience more of, that you identified, and feel into if you can identify a block or belief that might hinder the brilliant manifestation of that. And I'm just looking for some nods when people connect with that. Yes? Perhaps one wants to create and experience greater peace and finds in there that perhaps a belief that peace looks this way. Or somebody wants to experience a greater love, and what they come in contact with is the belief that it looks this way. And so what the thinking about and the looking at the creative process invites us to do is to understand that the principle that the allness of life, the unformed substance, is there in abundance. There's no limitation. And if it is not showing up in our life, we are invited to take a look at what are my beliefs. That is what we often refer to as the work. When we say, that is the work. It is often helpful to sit with someone who can see it. Have you ever had the experience that you can see it for somebody else easier than for yourself? Oh, good, I'm not the only one. Yes, right? That is why we have classes and workshops, and we sit with practitioners, and we work with practitioners, and we have these conversations to help us discover what might be in the way. And then, of course, in this beautiful teaching symbol, down here is all of our experiences, right? The life that we created. And we can see and often track back how we brought that forth. Like this beautiful full service of forms of peace, right? They all came because of the intention to bring it into form. That is how life works. I saw this wonderful slide from the woman that actually created the curriculum, and she talked about that the creative process. We sometimes have the idea that this is it, right? I think about something, I'll work on pulling it in, and here it is, and nothing else happens. No. That is actually the slide there. A more accurate realization because it's a continuous process. As we pull down into our experience what we want to experience, and then we have the experience, and then we are looking at the form, we're looking at our life, and it gets to be offered back up into the allness of life because it is a continuous process. We have a reaction to the forms that we create, don't we? Right? We celebrate. We celebrate. We struggle. All of that, all of those emotions get offered back into, and it's a continuous process. Do you see the V's? They are very creatively expressed there, but it's a continuous process. And not only that, we have probably, 120 people here in the sanctuary, many online. All of us have our own creative process going on. Do you think we interact with one another? Wouldn't it be great to be able to see it? Oh, you're working on that. Oh, okay. Well, that's how it's interacting with my creative process. And sometimes we come together and we have this experience like in the pre-service meditation where we are just lifted up together. And sometimes we have the experience that we're bumping into each other. All of that is just an experience of life. It's what life is designed to be. It helps me to think back to this teaching symbol and understand what is going on. Now, is having these wonderful letters that we use often out in the world here on the platform, is that peace? No. It is a form, right? Singing the peace song. On the surface, it is just a song. It's words. But what happened when we sang it together the way we did it today? We're making it our own, and we are bringing forth peace in that moment. And that, beloveds, is what is available to whatever you claim for yourself. When you complete the sentence, I want to experience more of. I want to experience whatever you put in there. Somebody asked me, well, where does action fit into this? Where does the action fit into that? Which I think it's a great question. Let's say if we want to, we'll stay with my example. I want to experience more support. I become aware of the limiting thought that I have, that the support that is offered to me is not quite right. It's not quite what I was looking for. And I'm able to trace that back to some very, very old beliefs of not receiving exactly what it is that I needed. And so, where does action come in? Well, this week, I was so very blessed by seeing all of the different supports that were offered to me. And I was able to see that they really did support me. Having the practitioners say yes. Having these wonderful letters appear here. Having the pedestal to have an easy way of showing it. All of that is helping me really clarify a limiting belief and letting it go. So I'm going to ask you to think back of what it is that you want to experience. Feel it in your heart. And I will speak a spiritual mind treatment with the intention of clarity, to have it be revealed to you what are your steps to bring it forth in your life. Because, beloveds, there's nobody that's holding it back from us. There's not a part of the universe that does not want us to have exactly and in abundance that what we desire. And we see this in all of the quotes that we pull up. But until we feel it in our own experience, they are just words. So if you're willing, take a hold of what it is that you want to make manifest in your experience. And then I'm going to speak a spiritual mind treatment for clarity of next steps. And so we just breathe into this now moment, where we recognize the allness of life, where we recognize that spirit is right here. Harmony, love, peace, abundance, joy, possibility, wisdom, wholeness, and order. All of it present in this now moment. And as we consciously step into our awareness, opening our hearts, our minds to a greater awareness of the infinite possibilities of first principle, first cause, we become clear what it is that we claim for ourselves. For we are of the divine. We have our being in it. There's no separation. And so I speak my word for all the beloveds who have placed a prayer request into our prayer ministry. For all the beloveds who are holding in their hearts a desire of a greater experience of love, of peace, of harmony, of joy, of abundance, of order, of possibility, of health and vitality. And I claim clarity being revealed now, how to bring that forth, how to make one available for the goodness of life that is bestowing itself upon us in every moment. How grateful I am to know that this is how the life works. The universe bestows upon us exactly what we need. And so it is with a grateful heart that I simply call this good and very good, that I release this word into universal law, that I know that the results of it continuously flow and ripple out through each and every beloved, that it is recognized. And with a grateful heart, I simply let it be, I let it go. And so it is.